Tell me you burn just like me. I'm a little bit steady, but just a little bit rolling stone. A little bit heaven, but still a little bit. I like Dirk Bentley. Good music, I'm just saying. So, Reverend MeeLing, Reverend Susan MeeLing, Lady Dori, Belle, Lady MeeLing. I've been known by a few different names. I know. And I'm kind of going, I thought I'd like the way that this would look in this regard, but I kind of don't. I thought it was okay at first, and then, I mean, it's one of those, like, I know that I'm not the only person that could be like, you know, it looks good, and then 5 minutes later, no, I don't like it. I mean, that wasn't 5 minutes, obviously, but then, you know, at the same time, nonetheless. And then, you know, I know I'm not the only person that goes through stuff like that. I was like, I don't like this anymore. 5 minutes go by. I don't know, let me change my, you know, I really do like those transition dresses if I could just figure out how to use them. That probably has to do with that cognitive issue. Probably. Along with the memory issue, because I'd have to remember how to. Anyway, so, but I did my own transition dress right there, right? Because I'm dressed and I transitioned the clothes. It's not technically the same. But I can make that joke if I want to. And so, 2/3 of a pun, that's fine. It is what it is. So, there are people that I have spoken with since before my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, as well after my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, about multiple different topics. But this particular one in particular is one of many, many that I have not been able to understand how there are so many people, at least pre-head injury, I could not understand how everybody I spoke with about this, for the most part, with the exception of certain individuals, and I do mean living people, I don't mean spirits, I mean actual people, alive and stuff, that the majority of them did not believe me when I was like, no, there's alien life form. And no, I don't mean illegal immigrants as far as like some people calling those guys aliens. I mean like actual aliens. And, you know, there were some guys that I knew in New Jersey, usually their parents and I would talk, and they'd just be like, well, what makes you think that's the case, Susan? Well, you know, I mean, the galaxy is pretty big. That's kind of like one aspect. We do not know everything about our ocean, like in the earth, and like all of the different animals and plants that are there. I mean, we do know a bit about space. However, you know, how could people just not believe that there's, you know, stuff out in the galaxy? And the majority of adults that I spoke with, children of my age back in the 1980s and 90s, a large portion of them were like, no. You're thinking about video games. No. Oh, you're thinking about this movie. No, I can't watch movies because they're above the movie rating I'm allowed to see. So, no. And so,
was told, by people that were my own age, no.
That's just weird to think like that. And so, in one example, when I was in camp, in Marlboro Recreation Camp, when we'd go to the pool, there were some females I knew, and they were like, oh, we saw the movie The Little Mermaid. And I said, oh yeah, The Little Mermaid. It's a cool movie. I mean, I actually did get to see it. Irony. And by the way, that is how old Mary Evangelina Nichols Osteen actually is, because Sandra Marie Osteen named Ariel Marie Osteen for Mary Evangelina Nichols Osteen. Sandra had seen the movie The Little Mermaid, and when Mary Evangelina Nichols Osteen and David Osteen found out that Mary Evangelina Nichols Osteen were pregnant, they had thought that it would be cute to let Sandra Marie Osteen name Ariel Marie Osteen. And so that's how Ariel Marie Osteen got her name, was because Sandra Marie Osteen had chosen the name for Mary Evangelina Nichols Osteen. So Mary Evangelina Nichols Osteen had Sandra Marie Osteen when she was 18 years old. So how I think Sandra was like 6 or 7 years old when she named Ariel Marie Osteen. So I can't do that math. There are people who can. So, just saying. I don't know what those numbers are, but I'm sure there are some mathematicians who can figure that out. And, anybody who can actually do math. In comparison to me, there's that. So anyway, I was,
doing my thing in regards to camp
when that movie came out, and the females I knew at the time, they were just like, oh look, we could do this, we could do that, da-da-da-da. And I was like, yeah, but I could actually be a mermaid. And the females looked at me and they were like, no, you can't. I was like, no. I mean, hypothetically, when we go out to the ocean, I could show you. And none of them wanted to believe me. And so there was the first beach field trip after that. We were on the bus ride, and I was like, I'm going to show you how I'm a mermaid. And they were like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm telling you, I'm going to show you how I'm a mermaid. And the females were just, whatever. So we arrived at Point Pleasant Beach in New Jersey, and everybody took their stuff off of the bus. We got to the spot that the camp counselor said, we were going to keep our stuff. And then I looked at them and like, watch. And they were like, watch what? You're going to see me be a mermaid. And they were just, no, that's not true. I ran. I ran across that sand so quickly, ran on top of the ocean a little bit before going and running into the waves and swimming out. And I was, hey, what's going on? And they were, whatever. That was essentially their response, like, fine, you can come, you don't want to swim out here with me? Fine, I'll just go to the buoy. Fine, whatever. Screw you guys. I'll just go where I feel like going. Which, I've written about that in my scuba diving books in a more extensive way. As far as the adventures of Susan MeeLing, scuba diver extraordinaire. So, and it would be so weird if there would, because there is a difference between, like, the compassionate, honorable, and righteous ones who could have been hypothetically in regards to that, as far as the guy with the go with cufflinks, silver cufflinks. But there were also, you know, I mean, I did write about some of the little fishies, cute little fishies, I wound up swimming with, and then irony, it being New Jersey, I went swimming with the fishes and I came back. And lived to tell about it. That's not normal. For those who know the East Coast, there are very few. I think I might be the only person who went to go swim with the fishes and came back. Alive, I guess I should specify that. Technically, by technicalities. Nonetheless, going back to the aspects of, you know, I mean, though some people could consider that an alien aspect because, well, I mean, how many of you people have, you know, swam with Merpeople? I mean, I'm just saying that by technicalities could be considered-ish in certain ways, you know, knowing that you were swimming with a mer person, whether, you know, male or female, because there are male Merpeople and there are female Merpeople.
You know, mermen, mermaids.
So, among other stuff, a lot. I mean, I know that in this era, there are certain issues, though, ironically, pre-head injury compared to post-head injury, there were a lot more people in comparison that were around my age that actually, you know, would essentially entertain the idea of the possibility of, what's it called, extraterrestrial life, and or aliens, whatever. And so, you know, there were some people, and that was before going scuba diving. That was before. Though after I went scuba diving, there were so many more people that were like, yeah, you know, I could see that. I could see that. You know, usually it was when I was in the BDSM lifestyle scene that people were like, yeah, Lady Dori, Belle. I could see that being a possibility. I could definitely see what you are saying as being a possibility, that there are, you know, life beings outside of the human's consciousness that would, you know, exist, not just in the ocean, but out in the galaxy. Yeah, you know, and now at this point, I mean, it's a little late because that was back in 2010 and 2011. This is 2020. Well, if they looked at my scuba diving pictures, then most likely they probably, you know, especially if they had like that background in like knowing certain things where I just, you know, I went swimming. I went scuba diving and I went swimming, and yeah, yeah, Lady Dori, yeah, I did, yeah. And then apparently, you know, as much of certain issues that I dealt with in regards to the TNG, you know, community back then, you know, there were those, and I would guesstimate those particular ones that had the issues as far as, Lady Dori, why do you have to be so mean? Yeah. Or why do you have to speak your opinion, you know, or the truth, or whatever.
I wonder what percentage of those individuals that threw those little temper tantrums back then either, number one, didn't actually finish their college education, or two, had some degree that they did get that wasn't necessarily useful.
comparison to science, math, technology, socioeconomic, sociology, stuff like that. You know, because like, for example, before I went scuba diving, there was, you know, Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., and Jamie Robles, or Lazy Eye, as she calls herself. And Jamie, Lazy Eye, had gotten a degree in art. And she wanted to be infamous for creating an art piece. And told her that, you know, I mean, there's art that could be made that's different, but you have to think of that on your own. And so she had thought that she would become infamous through the aspects of taking pictures during the 151 Road Warrior thing with Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., in regards to the Fiesta San Antonio thing. And I had told them both, so be careful what you wish for. And the two of them complained because they were like, well, we didn't get any, you know, nobody paid attention, so we had to get t-shirt, da-da-da-da. And I was like, there may be a day where you are recognized for that. And if you really want infamy, are you sure you want that infamy? Just saying. Because, I don't know. Like, there's good art, and then there's that. And if you really want to be infamous for that, I mean, that can happen. I still think you guys are terrorists for doing that. And I still think, I truly believe that you do not understand how lucky you are that you did not get sniped.
Doing that around the 1604 loop in San Antonio
To purposefully get all 5 military bases. I'm just saying. This is so stupid. Anyway, I'd rather be infamous for, you know, good stuff, but whatever. So, you know, in comparison of degree aspects, I would guesstimate now, in 2020, and not saying that there aren't good art degrees or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. You know, but something like in reference to Lazy Eye, Jamie, you know, Robles, that's obviously a bad way to utilize your degree, in my opinion. And so, you know, I realized that maybe there were a few guys, you know, in Austin, and more of us, not saying that there weren't people in Dallas that essentially knew, because there were a lot of scuba divers in Dallas. A lot of scuba divers in Dallas. So many scuba divers. Not saying that they're not in other parts of the state of Texas.
However, you know, in Austin,
Was it 5 colleges in the nearby vicinity of between Austin and San Marcos? There's like 5 or 6 colleges that, you know, just ironic, you know, and that, like, that was the vicinity that the majority of people that I spoke with after my head injury and scuba diving, that were like, you know, that I could see that lady, Dori, Belle. I could see how there might be life forms that we as humans do not understand. Oh my God, Lady Dori, Belle, you don't see it. See what? I see you. And so, you know, in regards to like the issues when it comes to my Medal of Honor art project, that whole thing, you know, not just in regards to the compassionate, honorable, and righteous ones seeing the cherubim ones causing problems to my Medal of Honor art project. But while, you know, the Merpeople would just essentially pick up on the energetic issues and be infuriated among the other. And Merpeople is more of an inclusive term because of the stuff. However, regards to like other galaxies, I mean, it's known that there is not just the Milky Way Galaxy, which is where the Earth is. It's known. Again, knowing more about space than planet. Ocean specific. However, in regards to the aspects of other planets outside of the galaxy, and galaxy in regards to the Milky Way Galaxy, you know, how many like people throughout humanity at this point do not understand that there's actually alien life form, and on every planet, by the way. I mean, in the Milky Way Galaxy, despite the fact that, okay, Mercury is extremely hot, like, because it's so close to the sun, and same thing with Venus, there are still, you know, life forms that live on and in those planets, and they're close to Earth, and so, you know, they're not even in another galaxy and can see what has been going on, hypothetically. Same thing when it comes to Mars and Neptune. I mean, even there's a few other planets out past the aspects of Pluto. I mean, there's several. And then that doesn't even include the stars themselves. Like, stars in comparison to planets, obviously, them being smaller by technicalities, do have their own life forms that can see and pay attention. Just saying.
That doesn't even include what's on comets and asteroids and moons and stuff. Just saying. I'm just saying. So, like, for example, where there might be certain, I mean, I obviously captured some pictures of some mermaids and mermen when I was scuba diving in the area of the Vandenberg. There are pictures of that. Yes, those are some Merpeople. That is not, and those who know how I have issues with techie stuff, they know that unless there's like the thing that's like, I tried to figure out Photoshop and I gave up. I quit. I was like, nope, I can't do it. I can't. I can't figure out. So it's just going to be whatever picture I take. And it's either going to be, like, the most that I'll do to it is, like, zoom in before taking the picture. Or zoom out. I mean, you know, moving stuff around as far as, like, the background, that's different. But, like, as far as, like, the picture taken, or in this case, you know, video stuff, if it doesn't have a little thingy that I can, like, push the button thing on the tech thing, none of my pictures have been altered. Like, at all. Like, not the ones that I took. No. So, like,
all the pictures in my scuba diving. Nope, no stuff added. Nope, and that didn't matter whether it was film photography in regards to before getting digital cameras or after getting digital cameras. That's just, you know, took the picture and that's it. And that's just the way I am. I can't. That's awesome that like Facebook and stuff, you could do that thing, and then YouTube, you could do the thing like that. I can't do. And how long did it take me to figure out that you could do that with the Facebook and the Instagram and the YouTube and it, probably a lot. They've probably been around a lot longer than I can't. Why won't it do the stupid push the button? Can't do the button. Stupid. And not them, me. Like, I can't figure out. I'm stupid. You know, in that regard. Like, I get why, and being zapped at the exact same time on top of it. Just, you know, and so, like, for example, my website, I had tried to figure out for years. Like, it was, like starting in 2015 or 2016, I got zapped before I went, because I didn't have a mouse when I was doing the techie stuff, and like tried to, and the mouse pad zapped me, and then accidentally clicked a button, and then they were like, how do I get rid of the member page? And it took all the way from then until 2020, and I had to hire a company to do that. I tried so much to get that removed, I couldn't figure it out. So that lets you know, as far as like pictures like this one, no, that is like the prime example, actually, to be like, pun intended, since my books are published through Amazon. Why won't it work? Stupid techie, can't figure. Throwing a temper tantrum. Rightfully so, because I was being electrocuted at the exact same time of trying to figure that out. But nonetheless, you know, that was my breaking point. I have to hire a company to figure this out. I don't know how to do it. Number one, I don't know how to do the advertisement stuff, because like I thought that sending like the other books that I wrote would like get like interview stuff or whatever to like publicize that, and no, apparently not. A music company, maybe. Obviously, I did not understand at all. And I'm not talking about the finding a silver lining or finding the silver lining books. Those particular books, yes, in certain regards, but more so because I knew that there were other things that were in those particular books that could bring more understanding and awareness in that regard. It was more along the lines of, I know I'm not the only person who has gone through certain aspects of the two books. And so that one was kind of, but not nearly as much as, you know, help. Like there's these people who need the understanding and ways to, in regards to getting stuff taken care of, you know, because, you know, the medication issue was not the only thing. Females in the military, that sort of stuff has been going on a really long time, you know, as far as the treatment and stuff like that, and making sure that they're taken care of, but also not just females in the military, including law enforcement, fire department and stuff, but also, you know, in different aspects of life, you know, and not just females either, plenty of males would be able to relate to certain things in that regard. So in my own background sort of way of being like, here, like, get them some help, lift them up, so that way, you know, they can see a better path and stuff. I'll admit, in regards to the other books, like that one, fail safe, and then, you know, the children's book series, the scuba diving series, the Paroxysm of the Lotus series. Well, mainly there's that in regards to, I can't figure out how to do everything. I don't know how to do that. And then that, well, that was more along the lines of, you know, partially having to do with the finding a silver lining and finding the silver lining, but also, you know, the project that I wanted to get going for veterans and stuff like that, and then, you know, that's obviously because of what happened during the trips as far as my Medal of Honor art project. And so coming back around, irony to that aspect of, like, you know, there are life forms, not just in the ocean, but in the galaxy, that very much have been, so like, where in regards to the ocean, it has been, there are very few documented cases with actual footage, like, for example, the pictures that I took. There are very few images that, like, many have, like, the ability of, you know, having as far as, like, Merpeople, you know, and so, and still learning about the different actual fish in the ocean, because there's still, like, Merpeople are not the same thing as fish, by the way. Well, just let me make that clarification. Merpeople are not the same thing at all.
And so, in that regard, as the Merpeople have watched
different things going on from the ocean, and not have been able to be captured in that many images. You know, I don't know how many outside of the pictures that I've taken can, like, go into that, but in regards to space, if you think about that realistic aspect, so in reference to, like, Mars has more monitoring stuff on it, just as the moon has a lot more monitoring stuff on it. And so when you take a smaller aspect in regards to the ocean in comparison to the size of those planets, you know, where the Merpeople have essentially watched and listened and different things like that, knew how to stay out of the camera's views, so that way they knew how, you know, what would, like, should we trust what's going on, like, who are you coming into this area, sort of thing. Same thing with other planets, moon, stars, etc. And so, you know, where there are people that I've met over the years who didn't necessarily want to believe certain things. You know, mainly, again, pre-head injury. Mainly pre-head injury is when a lot of people that were my age, some that were older, and some that were younger, that just did not want to accept that sort of thing. Then there were the guys that were much older than me that I usually spent time with, where I was like, you know, I'm telling you guys, like, you should so look into this. Like, you really should. Specifically at the churches. I'll just be like, you know, Mr. I can't remember the different last names because there were a few in whatever they did as far as jobs. I don't know what you're planning on doing this week today, but here's a suggestion on this stuff that you're looking at doing. Susan, what makes you think I'm going to be doing that this week? Well, I have a feeling Mr. or Mrs. or Miss, depending on who I was being with, so and so. I'm just, if this particular thing happens to come across your desk, hypothetically, maybe you should look at ABCDEFG. Just gonna throw that out there. And usually within about 2 or 3 weeks from that sort of discussion, they'd be back at church and go, Susan, you come here right now. Come here right now. And what'd I do? Here's some candy. I like candy. Why get candy? I can't tell you, but here's some candy. Candy. I like candy. There's going to be a day where candy doesn't work anymore, right? The candy's awesome. Right now. And so...
that was more towards like middle school.
And so... nonetheless, so again, going back to after my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, there were a lot more people who were more open to understanding stuff like that, discussing that with me, like a lot. But that usually was more so in the pagan community. The pagan community was a little bit more open-minded in regards to that sort of stuff. And then when I got into the BDSM, LGBTQP swinger communities, like more officially, then there were a lot more people that were like, how did you know? Well, I don't have like the research, but there's a feeling, hypothetically, that could be something you should look into, And so in regards to how I wound up in Washington State, all those people that I could have been speaking with, yes, there was, in Washington State, there were some people that I got to speak with, but that sort of stuff, it felt different, not just because of being electrocuted, not just because of that, but because of, it felt like, and obviously at this point, I was accurate to be on guard as the way I was.
Obviously.
And it wasn't because of seeing Homeland Security, because I didn't notice that being in the area until like 2018. It was literally one day when how many times have I passed that? How many times have I walked by this? I know that there have been times where I've gone like this just naturally, and what's Homeland Security do? What's that? Oh, that's like law enforcement stuff. I'm just gonna go walk around. Because I'm like that. And so, but even before then, it was one of those, I don't feel like I can discuss certain things the way I could like in the state of Texas. And I, at that time, I had just attributed it to like, I'm being zapped every second of every minute of every hour of every day of every week of every month of every year that I'm here. Like that, I attributed it to that because, you know, I deal with headaches and migraines, and when you speak, you know, there's this vibration that comes out of your face. And so, you know, dealing with headaches and migraines when I would speak, you know, that vibration and the already painful aspects of my headaches and migraines, you know, adding to add my face, which is part of my head, and that's where I have headaches and migraines. I'm just saying, just throwing that out there. Not forgetting, like, opening my mouth, then not only am I being zapped already, but then opening my mouth is water a conductive source for electricity? Yes, that was a rhetorical question. And so, you know, opening my mouth, literally being zapped as I spoke even more, just saying, really, 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 really painful. I do not recommend it. Do not, don't be jealous. There's nobody wants to be zapped like that. I don't think. I mean, I know that there are some people who are masochists. I don't think you're that much of a masochist. Maybe you are, but you know, that's painful. And I'm not a masochist. I'm just saying. So, you know. Deal with pain enough as it is. Just saying. So, you know, and that's in the state of Texas. That's not even taking into consideration Washington State. Just saying. Just pointing out the obvious at that point. But yeah, in regards to outside life forms, out of the realm of the Earth, I mean, anybody in NASA ever, like, or space stations that are orbiting the globe, any of them see anything that go by and be like, well, that didn't look like, what is that? You know, sort of thing. And so I'm just saying. I don't know how people didn't see that before. I mean, I'm sure there are some who did over the years, but yeah. So, in regards, again, going to the Merpeople, who, you know, oh, you're going to put that there. Okay, well, we'll just, this is the equivalent for understanding. Oh, you're going to go and put that there. Okay, well, we'll just stay over here and watch what you're doing. Yeah, just coming into generation. Okay. I mean, they have their own language. That is what it is. What does that do? And then, you know, whenever those guys, you know, humans go up and it's like, go check that out. And they've learned. You know, they've been able to go and see certain things. They know. I would guesstimate that, for example, the Vandenberg might have some cameras that were put onto the exterior portion, and they've seen certain things, and then, never mind, not gonna go meet that. I don't go in the vicinity of that. We'll send the fishies to go and do the research for that intel, is the equivalent for words of understanding. So, out in, you know, because Merpeople could speak with the animals in the ocean much easier than human beings can speak with animals on land and understand. It's a very different level of understanding. And almost, in certain regards, telepathy, I guess is the word, sort of aspect. Just saying. And so, again, out in the, just simply the Milky Way Galaxy, not including well beyond the Milky Way Galaxy, because what is it? Scientists have only found like maybe probably less than 100 galaxies thus far, like probably most likely by telescope, for the majority of them. A few more by a lot. I can't count that high. I can't even. I can barely count to 100. In regards to my Medal of Honor art project, if I got to like the number 50, then I had to start putting like actual 1, 2, 3, 4. For example, I needed my son to count how many I had completed as far as my Medal of Honor art project, because I couldn't count that high. I didn't tell him at first what he was counting. I was like, I did ish. It was like, hey, I need you to add these numbers because I can't do the math for my art. And okay, I already did the math, but I think I did it wrong. So go count, go do the math. And he came back and he's like 100 whatever, like 130 or something like that, or 131. And I was like, oh, that's a lot more, I think. And he looked at me and goes, a lot more than what? Oh, I got like 70 something. And he's like, yeah, no. Oh my God, Mom, you're horrible with math. I know. That's why you're so smart, because I can't add. I tried counting. Didn't work out so well. I'm bad with numbers. Especially after that happened on Bob Sunday in 2000. Just saying. So, the overall aspect is, yes, there are aliens as far as your terminology, or extraterrestrials or whatever, outside that have, when, like, so for example, when there's a rocket launch or a space launch, oh, you best believe that every single nearby planet and moon is watching. Every single one. Every single one of them are watching. Yes, yes, yes. They're not necessarily the entire population of, but yes, every single one of them are watching and paying attention to what you are doing. Yes, yes, they are. Absolutely. They are paying attention and wondering what you think you are doing at times. For certain individuals who know who they are. Just saying. And so, yes, they very much have been. Yes. So, in regards to, well, why haven't, we had alien contact and stuff? Because they don't trust you. That's why. That's why. They have watched how you treat each other. They have watched and seen what you have done to one another. And been like, yeah, and they have, they have watched what you have done to one another. They have watched what you have done to the earth and different stuff. Yeah, they have watched. They have paid attention. They have seen that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, And yes, like, while there are individuals who have made crop circles, then there are actual crop circles that have been made by alien, I guess is the term, crafts landing. There is a difference. There is a big difference. So, yes. I guess I should say hypothetically, but it's happened. So, just saying. And I will end on the minder aspect that yes, if there were any people who saw that in the apartment complex that I was living in when in Irving, I guess by technicalities, as considered an alien life force thingamabob that came down to Earth from a different area and wanted to see whether or not they wanted to know if there was any hope left for the Earth and those individuals on it because of how much they have witnessed and seen. That obviously was before my Medal of Honor art project. Just saying. So, just hypothetically, but not really, because like it was before I started my Medal of Honor art project. It's back in 2011. I didn't start my Medal of Honor art project till 2014. So, just saying. Yes, that is. Though I guess nowadays in 2020 there are far more people who believe in a lot more stuff. But it doesn't discount religion or spirituality, by the way. Just because of scientific endeavors in certain regards, that does not discount that at all, whatsoever.
So for those people who have made fun of certain aspects of different religions,
you know, that moral compass of whether or not to be a good person by choice. Just saying. It's a thing. It's realistic. Though again, there are more people who understand that to be reality. Yeah, apparently there's those anonymous guys, and I do have to I have to giggle because it took me so long to figure out how to say anonymous because I kept saying anonymous. As I was trying to actually say it. So I'm that person. I can make fun of myself. It took me a while to, and it's not because it's more than one syllable. It's and it's just more along the lines of irony. You could think of like children that try to say spaghetti and how that goes. That's how it when I was trying to pronounce it. That's like that was just when reading it and trying to like formulate the ability to say it. I can make fun of myself. I don't care. So yes. But they've been, doing a bunch of stuff and putting out stuff from military guys and stuff. So just saying, yeah, that's the thing. That's realistic. Anyway, you guys have a good one. Think about what you've done. And you now know. Now that you know, you can't unknow. So you make your decisions accordingly. Not that you haven't beforehand. Just saying, Just throwing that out there. You guys have a good one.